Your stomach is loud. Oh my God. What did you eat?
Um, Ice cream sandwich.
Well, your stomach is tearing it up. Hey y'all, it's Missy Mocha and
Yeah, me.
him, that guy,
She forgot who I was.
Mr. Shenanigans. Actually, we were coming at you today, just kind of to address the issue that we talked about in the last video. Um, it, as you know, some changes have been, I don't know, we've just been going through changes basically, and
Growing pains, really.
growing pains, revelations have been coming about. Oh, you could see how much weight I put on my Jeebits. Boy, Jeebits. Oh, anywho, he don't mind though, do you? No. But anywho. So, what the other video was about that is that I had gone through, I had been in the hospital for a little while and have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And suffice to say, it answers a lot of questions, but it also leaves some. Right now, I'm in a transition period where I'm trying to figure out what meds are going to work best for me, what kind of game plan I need to make, because you can't just go into you know a new life experience. I mean, something that even though I've been living with it my whole life, I still would rather go in with a plan than just jump in and just hope for the best, because that's how, bad things happen. So I really don't want bad things to happen. So, we are treating this with kid gloves right now. I know me especially. I'm pretty much afraid that everything is related to bipolar now. It's just one of those things that I'm like, oh, is that the disorder or is that me? It's like, I don't know what's me and what's the disorder. I don't know. So, I really don't know how to look at it, but, me and Jeff is really trying to help me out. We're each other's sounding boards at this point. And, how do you feel about it?
Well, I look at my role here as not only the concerned spouse, but also the guardian, the watchdog, the lookout guy.
Right.
Pretty much what I'm doing right now, and without trying to be that way, but for the concern of her well-being and for her safety, I'm pretty much giving her as much support as I can. But the same token, I sit back and I observe as much as I can to see what is changing in her personality, her habits, her thought processes.
For instance, like the idea that you noticed I was in the bed all day yesterday, and it's
Correct.
like, and he asked me, is that part of it coming back or whatever? And I'm like, you know what? To be honest, I can't even tell you yes or no, because like I said, I'm kind of at the point where I don't know what's me and I don't know what's the disorder. So I could say yes and it could be the truth, or it could be false. I could say no, and the same goes for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, and that's why I observe and listen to what you tell me. Like you were talking about having some dreams or visions again of certain aspects that actually kind
about death.
about death that bothered you.
Yeah.
And that was a major concern of mine. Is one, are we at a point that is becoming a stalemate, or are we digressing to the point that we are slowly going back the opposite way?
Right.
But it concerns me to the point that if we are starting to go back a little bit, we need to address it now before it gets to a point that you run into another panic attack.
And I understand that. So I did make a phone call to the doctor's office and left a note, or not a note, but a voicemail stating that, I would like to handle this as soon as possible, just because I'm trying to get an understanding about what's me and what's the disorder. And if I need to contact a professional about it, then that's what I'm going to do. So, I guess me and the disorder are one and the same for the time being.
Well, like I'd asked you before. Remember I said I want the old Erica back, and you said, well, this is the old Erica plus a different Erica. And I says, well,
it's almost like a personality disorder. It's like he's getting two people, and because Jeffrey said to me that, like he said that he wanted the old Erica back, and I'm like, this is part of her. Sometimes she goes through bouts of depression, and but this is all of this is me, the good and the bad, and I think that kind of took you back a little bit.
Well, I think what really took me back is this is the first time since we've been together for 6 years,
right,
that I've actually have seen you experience the depression of this magnitude.
Right. I mean, now I've gone through other bouts of depression, but none of them have ever lasted this long. This one has been off and on for the last 2 years. I might have a good day here and there, but for the most part, I've been in depressed mode for about the last year and a half.
A little longer than that.
A little bit longer than that. I agree with that. Yeah.
The reason I'm saying a little longer than that is it really kind of hit a nerve, and not a bad nerve, but a concerned nerve, that after the incident from work,
right, you
just went into a shell. And at that point, we made a kind of an agreement together that I get a part-time job and you take care of the house responsibilities.
Right.
And it seemed like at first it started to work slowly on her point to taking care of the house, and that I'd come home from working 2 jobs and I'd see that when I would have a day off from the 2 jobs, I would find myself doing the job that she was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Which put more of a burden on top of me.
And then that made me feel bad because I'm like, I've been here all week and I've accomplished next to nil, So that weared on me too, but it was kind of like I couldn't force myself to do it. There was just no interest, no motivation. I was constantly fatigued, and I know that's hard to believe because you're like, well, you're not working. Why are you tired? Depression actually causes you to be fatigued, and then I would start complaining about aches and pains. It's like, dude, what do you mean you have aches and pains? You're doing nothing. You're at home all day. But this is the face of depression. I'm telling you. You have aches and pains that are real or imagined. You have no lack, or you lack motivation. You lack interest in everything. You're easily distracted, and the distraction is to take you away from the depression for a little while. But it wasn't working, and it was noticeable to everybody. And you know what? It even got to the point where I was like, screw it. I just can't do anything right. I don't care anymore. It was getting to the point I just didn't care anymore, because it seemed like I couldn't do anything right. The things that I knew needed to be handled, I wasn't handling.
And then you would go into a week or so, or possibly up to 2 weeks, where you get into a point that she goes into a massive energy strength, and then she'd do this workout, and she'd be diligent in her workout, and then all of a sudden it would stop. And then she would start falling back into the depression mode. But it's easy to say I see it now compared at the time.
Right.
But it got to a point where we would get to weekends where I would get so frustrated to the point that you're home and I'm working 2 jobs or working whatever I'm working, and you have all this time and you're going to school, and sometimes you don't even go to school, or you don't even do any homework, and then you expect to, at the last second, turn in your homework and expect to get a good grade out of it. And then when you do get your grade, you're happy about it, but did you really work that hard for that grade? And
well, this is new.
Well, and it just kind of got under my skin a little bit, that you knew you had a project due 2 weeks in advance, and then of course on the last day before it's due, I gotta get it done. So you've had 2 weeks to get this thing done, and now you're waiting for the last second. Now, I don't know if that's procrastination.
Honestly, I'm going to say it was procrastination as well as the depression. The depression really helped the procrastination along, basically, is what I mean. But the thing about it is that, you know, when I first started classes, I was doing awesome. I was coming home, I was doing homework assignments before they were due and turning them in on time. I got straight A's. But it seemed like after the death of my friend and also the death of my father, that, well, the death of my father, I know for certain, is when things really took a turn downhill. I know that for certain because I still was not over the first death. And then for the second one to come 3.5 months later, and I knew it was going to crush me, and I was just like, oh my God, what am I going to do? You know, and then when it happened, it was like, oh, I didn't know how to pick myself up. And I didn't know how to tell you what was wrong because you kept asking me, well, what can I do? And I'm like, if I knew what to do, I'd do it myself. You know, and I couldn't tell you what to do because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what was wrong.
And my first signs of seeing the depression was the insomnia.
Right.
Of, you know, I had to go to bed about 10 o'clock because I got to be up at 6 o'clock the next morning to be at work at 7. And I'd go to bed and she'd come with me, or she would be at home all day on the computer all day, and then when I'm trying to go to sleep, she's still on the computer and won't come to bed until 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes she would even come to bed then and get right back up again and go out in the front room and read her Kindle.
I just couldn't sleep.
And wouldn't be able to come back to bed until 5 o'clock that morning. And by the time I get ready to go to work, I'm exhausted because she's up with the light on, and I know she turns the light down. I know she put her headsets on, but I can still see the glow of the computer no matter how I look.
Through your eyelids at night.
Well, not even that, but just mentally too.
Oh, just knowing that I'm up.
And that was really my first indicator of something was wrong. And it got to the point that we had a weekend feud, to the point that we weren't talking to each other because I was so mad.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. What was that one about?
Nothing was done.
Oh, okay. And I kept asking you what was wrong, and you were telling me nothing.
I couldn't. And I say, "What is wrong?" And I look around and says, "You mean you can't see that the dishes aren't done, the house is not clean, the clothes are not done, you haven't taken a shower for over a week, and you can't sense this?"
Yeah, that's the other thing. I wasn't bathing. I wasn't changing clothes. And I was perfectly fine with that. In fact, if I actually did get up at the end of the week and take a shower, it was grudgingly. It was like, I don't really need this shower. I don't want this shower, you know. But it was because, you know, as a woman, you realize at some point you have to, you know, clean. And I just was not up for doing anything, brushing my teeth, washing my face, my hair, my body, getting out new clothes. It just all seemed like a bother. You know, it just seemed, everything just overwhelmed me. Like, not bathing and knowing somebody noticed overwhelmed me. Having the thoughts of what am I going to wear today because I know I've put on weight. What am I actually going to be able to fit overwhelmed me. The idea that the house was getting dirtier and dirtier by the moment overwhelmed me. That, you know, Jeffrey wanted it done. And I knew he did. I knew he saw it, but nobody was acknowledging it, which, you know, I yelled at him for. You know, I did. I was like, why didn't you tell me? I kept asking you what's going on, and you're not telling me anything, like I'm supposed to be a mind reader. I said, because best you believe, if something is bothering me, I'm going to tell you, whether it hurts your feelings or not. But I can do that because I trust you enough as an individual, as my mate, that at the end of the day, even though you're upset with me for what I said, you're still going to love me. You know, that doesn't mean that you don't censor how you say things. It's just that we can talk. We've always been communicable. You know, we've always been able to communicate with one another in a manner that was respectful but truthful, you know. And it just seemed like he cut off that line of communication because he was so frustrated with me, and so I yelled at him for it. It didn't change my actions though, but at least he got it off his chest because, like I said, I didn't know what to do. I didn't, you know, and now I'm going through it again, and you know.
But I'm not on your case, though, am I?
No, you're not. But at the same time, there's still that level of pressure that's there, and there's the lack of interest all over again, and it's like, you know, because the pills were lack of interest in anything.
Okay.
And like I feel it coming back on again, so I know this means that a change in meds needs to come. Therapy needs to be increased to twice a month at least, you know, every other week instead of once a month. Everything, that's what I'm saying. We are treating this with kid gloves because we don't know what we're in for. You know, we know what we've been living with for a long time, and we've been kind of, what do you call it when you just kind of guess at things, you pick and, like, we're just kind of nitpicking around trying to figure out what works and what doesn't. And, you know, but the important thing is that we have to keep the lines of communication open.
You're
you
right.
know, whether you're upset with me or whether you're concerned, like you talked to me today about your concerns.
And the other day I talked to you about it too.
Right.
It's just that on that one weekend when we sat down and we talked about things going on, and she kind of opened my eyes a little bit more to label, if you want to say, what was going on. And she mentioned that she's going through a bout of depression that's been going on for a while. And I said, okay, if you're going through depression, then you need to find professional help. And she was very hesitant about the idea of professional help because she didn't want to go ahead and rehash the old memories that caused the depression. Until it came down to that one Monday when you called me at work, and you were just, we had talked about well, actually you called me and you went online at the computer to find out what you thought was the main issue of the depression. And so you looked up clinical depression, and all the symptoms that you saw in there fit you to a T. And we had talked about that very briefly, to the point that when we talked, it put her in such an idea that everything that she had talked about now came to realization of what it was. And when she realized what it was, she broke down and started crying hysterically. And I was at work. It was a kind of job that I just can't walk off the job because it's a security job. And with security, you just can't leave until you have a relief. I called my boss, told him what was going on. I had an emergency at home I had to take care of. And this was about 2 o'clock. By the time that everything was done, I was able to leave out of there by almost 2:30, around there, to the point that I had to leave without relief. She called me back, and she was to the point that she couldn't breathe. She's going through the major panic attack now. I had called her mom to let her know that she needs to go over and see Erica because she's going through a major panic attack. By the time I got home, Erica's mom was already there. Erica had been calmed down for a little bit, but my concerns were majorly heightened to the point that she had 2 options. And this is where Erica kind of gave me the idea of, you don't know who you're dealing with. But she didn't know who I was dealing with. She was dealing with me either. And so at that point, I told her, well, you have a 2 choices. 1, you can go to the hospital with me, or 2, I'm going to drag you to the hospital. Your choice. It's kind of like Triple X. No, not Triple B. The Rundown. Plan A or Plan B. That's all you got. There's no Plan C here. So she went to the hospital. They started asking her a lot of questions, and she was giving out information in regards to what her symptoms were, and when she had mentioned the idea of death to the doctor there, at that point I knew in my mind that Erica was thinking that, oh, I'm going to go out there and get a couple of meds and go home. In my mind, when you said that there, you weren't going anywhere. But I couldn't tell you that, because if I would have told you that, you would have fought me to get out of that hospital right then and there.
Because here's another truth, is that some years prior, I guess about 10 years prior, I had gone to the hospital, pretty much the same symptoms, and they started asking me those same questions, and I bolted for the door. So, because I didn't want to be in anybody's straitjacket, anybody's white padded room, you know, because that's the stigma that goes with mental disorders, is that they put you in a straitjacket, you know, and they lock you in this little padded room by yourself, and nobody's ever heard from again, you know, and I didn't want that to happen. And that was just the ignorance that I was running with at that time, and so I ran from the hospital. You know, they still billed me for it, but I ran because I was like, I don't want to get no padded room.
But no, I, in all justice and respect for Erica, in the line of work that I deal with in security at a soup kitchen, I deal with all walks of life, including the mentally challenged, disturbed, and seeing how they act every day, and especially when they're not on their meds, I know what I'm faced with. But when it comes to my own wife, seeing the same symptoms I see there, it was a crushing blow to me, to the point that
I knew that too.
I have to commit my wife to the mental ward for her own good. And it just bothered me for the first 3 days, to the point that I found it very hard to even...
How did you get through that week? Honestly. Because I was on pins and needles. I couldn't wait for y'all to come visit. Then they said, oh, we had a breakout of flu, so nobody's here to visit. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm here by myself and I can't see nobody. And like, they were like, oh, it'll be okay. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I need my family. I don't know about nobody else, but I need my family.
How did I deal with it? I pretty much put myself into a state of mind of staying busy all the time. I would do housework until 11 o'clock at night, sometimes almost 12. Cleaning the house inside out, hitting all the meticulous little areas, being detailed in all the cleaning.
Did it make you miss my laziness at all?
No, it didn't. It just... you know, being in the house by myself those whole week, and only having the dogs available, and of course your pillow, was really hard. I'd go ahead and get on the computer and watch YouTube videos of ones you've made, just to reminisce, to see how you were acting, and just visit you by watching your videos.
My pillow.
Your pillow. You had to, your scent was on the pillow, so it had a good scent to it. It just, please. And then of course, you know, in that week period, that my eating habits went down to nothing.
And you like to eat dinner every single night.
And it was to the point I might snack here, snack there. I never actually had a complete full meal in that whole week.
Now y'all have to understand, I'm the snacker of the family. Okay, I don't eat complete meals. I snack. Now Jeffrey, he likes full meals. Okay, and we'll cook them if I won't cook them. So for him to go from having full meals to having snacks, that's saying a lot. Well, I can't believe you didn't eat.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying I didn't eat.
Were you depressed?
I'd say yes, a little bit depressed, but more on the area of concern for you, because things that I had heard from you in regards to being in the psychiatric ward, such as people were told that they were getting out, and they had were told that the day they were going to get out that they can't leave.
You can't leave, yeah.
And when
so
they
they
did
went
that,
from involuntary or voluntary to involuntary.
right? And at that point, they could hold you to an undetermined time.
Right.
And I would just hope that I hope you don't do this, because if you do that, they could put you in there for 2-3 months, and that was not the intent I was looking for when you went there. The intent was for you to get better, for you to be observed, for them to say, okay, we realize we have a problem here, let's fix, or not, it's not fixed, but let's work on Erica to the point that on this time period here, it's going to be a jump start for you to realize where you're at and what we can do for you.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up because we got about 25 minutes in. If y'all have any questions, thank you for all the comments and the support that we've been getting. Y'all know I'm not good at responding back to comments, but we do read them, and we appreciate them. So
yes, we do.
If you have any questions regarding this depression or bipolar disorder or anything of that magnitude, please leave them below, and we will do another video answering those questions.
And the best thing for bipolar is do your research.
Yeah. Find
good books that actually talk about it, and also for parts that deal with family members so they can understand it.
Yeah. So there you go. Questions below, we'll answer them at a later time. All right, deuces.
Have a good day.